Pre-Diwali fireworks on Dalal Street. Sensex hits highest level in nearly 3 years. Ends at 20,883 levels, up by 467 points. Nifty shuts 143 points up at 6,189 levels. Birla meets Finance Minister and Revenue Secretary 3 days after FIR was filed against him by the CBI. Says not worried about FIR and life goes on. China's economic growth picks up speed in third quarter. World's second biggest economy grows by 7.8% in third quarter, fastest in a year. And as the deadlock in US economy ends, US government employees head back to work. Rating agency S&P says shutdown has taken $24 billion out of the US economy. Hello and welcome to Doordarshan News. I am Sidhant Sibal and we have a power-packed show lined up from the market action to the day's other top developments. First, on to the market action. From Dalal Street to the Mint Street, we'll talk about the markets first. Rupee ended the day at 61.26 against the US dollar. In the morning, it led forex gains in Asia and outperformed its regional peers. The rupee rallied to a 2-month high of 60.92 against the US dollar in late morning deals. But towards the afternoon, it fell to 61.71 after reports that the central bank is considering closing the dollar swap window offered to oil companies. The RBI had opened a special window to provide a dollar directly to oil companies since late August in the bid to shore up the battered rupee. Meanwhile, the Asian currencies also gained. The South Korean won also touched a nearly 9-month peak as foreign investors reported the longest buying streak in Seoul stocks. The won rose as much as 0.3% to 1,060 per US dollar, its strongest since January 21st. The Chinese yuan hit a record high for the 5th consecutive session to enjoy its best week since February 2012. Taiwan dollar also gained. The Indonesian rupiah advanced up to 0.4% to 11,277 per US dollar, its strongest since September 19th. The Malaysian currency gained 0.9% and the Thai baht has advanced 0.8%. The Singaporean dollar also advanced 0.6% while the Taiwan dollar has risen to 0.4%. The US dollar fell broadly as potential damage to the US economy from the week-long US shutdown in Washington could prevent the Fed from winding up its tapering policy until beginning of the next year. On to the stock market, it was a Diwali before Diwali on the Dalal Street. BSE Sensex hit its highest level in more than 35 months. That is since November 2010. The CNX Nifty also hit 21-week high. Banking index gained almost, rising to 3.93%. Metal stock index was the second best performer. All the 13 sectoral indices ended higher. Meanwhile, Asian shares also hit 5-month high as they celebrated China's good GDP numbers. And that too just a day after US legislators finally broke the fiscal impasse.
Dalal Street never looked so good. Both Sensex and Nifty gained more than 2%. BSE Sensex gained 467 points to end at 20,883. Nifty gained 143 points to end at 6,189. The celebrations come on the back of good Chinese GDP numbers and US fiscal impasse coming to an end. But the impasse has hit the American economy, which may cause Federal Reserve to delay tapering. This could be good news for emerging economies. The Fed's bond buying program has been a source of liquidity for most Asian and emerging markets this year. Top gainers on the charts have been SSLT, Tata Steel, ICICI Bank, L&T and HDFC Bank, which gained between 6 to 3%. There was only one loser, Bajaj Auto, down by 0.56%. Market health, indicating overall health of the market, was positive. Index heavyweight and cigarette major ITC extended gains in late trade. Asian markets were mostly higher after the latest data showed that China's economic growth accelerated in Q3 September 2013. Key benchmark indices in China, Indonesia, Japan, South Korea and Hong Kong rose by 0.22% to 0.106%. Key benchmark indices in Singapore and Taiwan fell 0.34% to 1.77%. European stocks also edged higher. Indices in UK, France and Germany were up by 0.2 to 0.42%. Business Bureau, TD News.
Kumar Mangalam Birla, head of the Aditya Birla Group, today met with Finance Minister P. Chidambaram and Revenue Secretary Sumit Bose. After the meet, Kumar Mangalam Birla said that life continues and he is not worried about the FIR. He also discussed various issues with the Finance Minister, which he didn't disclose. Early in the week, CBI had lodged a fresh FIR in the coal block allocation case, in which it had named industrialist Kumar Mangalam Birla and former Coal Secretary P.C. Parekh. They have been charged with criminal conspiracy and corruption in connection with alleged irregularities in the allocation of coal blocks 8 years back. The latest FIR is the 14th registered by the CBI as the part of its ongoing probe into the coal block allocation case. Earlier, breaking its silence over the FIR filed by the Central Bureau of Investigation against business tycoon Birla, Industry Chamber CII has cautioned the government against building a fear psychosis into decision-making and against tarnishing reputation of businessmen. Time for a short break, but after the break, we have a special guest lined up to discuss all the market action.
सुनो, गाड़ी की चाबी तो ले लो।
आज नो चाबी। आज से मेरा कारपूल स्टार्ट हो रहा है। सॉरी यार, लेट हो गया।
सुनो।
हाँ।
थैंक यू।
थैंक यू क्यों?
मेरी डायमंड रिंग के लिए।
डायमंड रिंग?
अब तुम कारपूल कर रहे हो, इसका मतलब हर साल हम फ्यूल बिल पे 50,000 तक तो बचा ही लेंगे। अब इतने में तो डायमंड रिंग आ ही जाएगी। आखिर बात तो एक ही है ना?
कारपूल करें और सालाना 50,000 रुपए तक बचाएं। Brought to you by PCRA and Public Interest.
बचा बचा के, छुपा छुपा के, बचा बचा के, छुपा छुपा के, बचा बचा के, छुपा छुपा के।
पानी की इतनी किल्लत, कहीं ये आपका भविष्य तो नहीं? ऐसे भविष्य से बचने के लिए बारिश के पानी का संरक्षण कीजिए और पानी रखिए
बचा बचा के।
दिल या साथी, चाहे कुछ भी कहे, जो कॉन्डम का साथ न छोड़े वही है मुकद्दर का सिकंदर।
Welcome back. Overall, in terms of financial news, this week was a mixed bag. Inflation again rose, giving more pain to the Aam Aadmi. It was food inflation which rose most. But earnings season seemed good, with IT companies like TCS and HCL declaring better Q2 numbers. Markets too ended the week on positive and record high. Also, dollar saw its biggest weekly drop in a month this week.
The week started on a somber note. WPI inflation rose to a 7-month high in September. It came out at 6.46%. Onion prices jumped by a whopping 323% year-on-year in September. Retail inflation also rose to 9.84% in September. On the same day, Reliance Industries reported a 1.5% increase in its net profit and became the first company in the country to achieve sales of more than 100,000 crore rupees in a quarter. And the Nobel Prize for Economics 2013 went to Eugene Farmer, Lars Peter Hansen and Robert Schiller for their empirical analysis of asset prices. On Tuesday, TCS outshone Infosys once again. The Tata company's revenue in the second quarter ended September surged by 5.4% to $3.34 billion month on month. But bad news for HDFC Bank, as their quarterly profit growth came in the slowest in a decade. On the same day, CBI lodged a fresh FIR in the coal block allocation case against industrialist Kumar Mangalam Birla and former coal secretary P.C. Parekh. They have been charged with criminal conspiracy and corruption. This has given a big shock to India Inc. On Wednesday, an optimistic Raghuram Rajan said India's economy will pick up by the year end thanks to the restart of billions of dollars worth of stalled resource projects and a good monsoon season that will bolster agricultural production. It was a sigh of relief on Thursday as US Congress ended the debt impasse. The US House of Representatives approved a deal to end a political crisis that partially shut down the federal government and brought the world's biggest economy to the edge of a debt default. Back home, government raised the minimum support price for wheat by 50 rupees to 1,400 rupees per quintal to encourage farmers to cover more area under the crop in the ongoing Rabi season. Friday saw the world's second largest economy come out with its Q3 numbers. They came out at 7.8%, suggesting China is still rolling ahead full steam. Bureau Report, DD News.
Now look on the major cues for the coming week. Indian investors will focus on the likely impact of the 16-day US government shutdown this month on monetary stimulus for the US economy. Fed's bond buying program has been a source of liquidity for most Asian and emerging markets this year. Next batch of Q2 results is also awaited. HDFC and Asian Paints will unveil Q2 results on Monday. Kane India and Wipro will unveil their Q2 results on Tuesday. ACC, Abuja Cements, Hero MotoCorp and Power Grid Corporation of India will unveil their quarterly earnings on Wednesday. Kotak Mahindra Bank and NMDC will unveil their Q2 results on Thursday. ITC, ICICI Bank and GAIL India will unveil their Q2 results on Friday. We are joined by stock analyst Jagannatham Thanguntula. Sir, welcome to Doordarshan News. And it seemed Diwali before Diwali on the stock markets.
Absolutely. I think after the stock markets had torturous 2 months of July and August, I think the life has come back. One is the rupee has shown phenomenal strength. That itself has elevated the mood. And then on top of that, the policymakers which started taking active, robust action.
But will you call it a relief rally also because of the fact that the US debt impasse was solved this week and the Chinese GDP numbers came out?
One is when the US went into shutdown, Indian market never fell. So the question of bouncing has no relevance, because if Indian market has fallen say 1,000 points, then this bounce one can attribute it to the US shutdown. So but it has nothing to do with it, and every matured investor will know that US shutdown was just a temporary phase and it was set to end sooner than later. The Chinese GDP pickup is definitely a welcome relief for all the emerging markets, which shows that the resilience of the emerging market economies has been much more stronger than originally anticipated.
But globally, most of the global markets bounced primarily because of the solution in the US economy of the debt crisis and the Chinese data. But will you call it irrational exuberance because of the fact that the global economy is still not out of the woods? Secondly, the US debt impasse has not been completely solved. It's only a temporary fix and it has been postponed to the new year.
One thing we should remember is that there is no connection between the markets and economy, because until and unless we get this maturity, it is difficult to break this code, because many people get a tendency to draw a parallel, an exact parallel between the economy and markets. Markets are a lot more dynamic. Economies don't change overnight. So economies pickup will take a lot of time, whereas stock markets will assume it at least 6 months before the hand, both on the negative side as well as on the positive side.
But they still provide Q.
Absolutely. And one thing is the result season has not been that exciting. Well, they are decently fine, but nothing spectacular as such. That itself reflects the economy. But that doesn't mean it will reflect in the markets. But having said that, currently FIIs who have missed the rally in the beginning phase of this rally, when the Sensex was around 18,000, they are feeling a left out feeling, and they are jumping into the bandwagon right now. I feel the rally is coming closer to its highest point possible. I think now probably some smart investors will, it makes sense to start booking some profits, because
but is it possible to have an all-time high before the Diwali?
All-time high beyond a point is just a number. I mean, economies are nowhere close. People are not confident. Businesses are not confident. Nobody is confident about their jobs. No job security. No increments. No bonuses. Market all-time high. Who cares?
So you're cautious only. You're
who cares? Point is, it doesn't matter. So it's just a number. Beyond a point, it's just a numeric. If the same numeric happening after 6 years, because the last time it happened in 2007 and now it is happening 2013 and 6 years, and if the same level hit, actually if you adjust it to the inflation, we are nowhere close to the all-time high, because in 6 years the inflation and the cost has increased so much. So by no means one can call it all-time high in terms of confidence. Numerically, it may be all-time high, but confidence-wise, it's not.
But what's your outlook for the market for next few weeks?
Appearing to be strong, and one thing is the party will end any moment, because till the time US is paying the party bill by printing the money, so everybody is ready to enjoy the party. But one thing everybody should assume, that the moment the party bill-paying party stops,
And also the Federal Reserve, if it starts
stable. That's the bill-paying capacity of the Fed
but
interest.
that probably has been postponed to the middle of the next year, or probably.
No, I don't think so. I think it just December or January it will start. By middle of next year it will stop. I mean, by starting the December or January it will start.
Okay. Do you think that the Nifty will be able to hold its current level of 6,200?
Appearing to be difficult. I think the rallies are so wild, and even the falls. I think both rise and fall has been very volatile and wild. One should not live in the glory of today's rally.
And what's your view about the IT sector? Lots of IT companies came out with the numbers, TCS, HCL.
This time most of the benefit was from rupee, because rupee at 69, naturally it's a big opportunity for all the IT companies, and everybody has made sunshine when the sun was shining, and that is when the rupee was falling. I think clearly a big positive happened to the IT stocks, and it reflected in the both stock performance as well as in the corporate performance.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much for joining me at DD News. So that was Jagannatham Thanduntla expressing his views, cautious but little bit optimistic also. On to the other big news from the international sphere. China's economic growth has picked up pace in the third quarter, the first rise in 3 quarters. The world's second biggest economy grew at 7.8% from a year earlier. Major growth was reported in industrial output, retail sales and fixed asset investments. China has set a growth target of 7.5% for the year. China's annual economic growth quickened to 7.8% between July and September from 7.5% in the previous 3 months. The fastest growth this year and in line with expectations.
The national economy is showing growth and a positive trend of development within stability. In initial calculations of the first 3 quarters, domestic total output value was 38,676 billion yuan. Calculating according to comparative prices, year-on-year growth was 7.7%.
Many investors have been concerned about the fragility of China's economic revival, especially after a surprise fall in export growth in September. After 3 decades of expansion fueled by exports and investment, Beijing is trying to shift the economic mix so that the activity is geared much more to consumption. That means a slowdown from the double-digit growth of the previous years. The GDP readings keep China on track to achieve the government's 2013 growth target of 7.5%. Stronger than any major economies, but still the worst performance for the country in 23 years. Over the past decade, China has relied heavily on its exports and manufacturing sectors as well as government-led infrastructure spending to help boost growth. However, a slowdown in key markets such as the US and Europe has hurt demand for its export. Business Desk, DD News. From China to the world's biggest economic developments from the US, hundreds of thousands of US government employees are back at work after President Barack Obama signed a law ending a 16-day government shutdown and extending the US debt limit. Meanwhile, ratings agency S&P has said that due to shutdown of the US economy, it lost 0.3% in growth, and the threat hasn't subsided as the deal gives US government funds until January 15th. After that, what? Federal employees are back on the job. The DC Metro is a lot busier and the streets a bit more crowded as Washington reopened for business on Thursday. The vote that sealed the deal came Wednesday night when the Congress agreed on a measure to end the government shutdown and avoid a default. President Barack Obama said that the self-inflicted crisis should have never happened.
There are no winners here. These last few weeks have inflicted completely unnecessary damage on our economy.
The 16-day partial shutdown of the government closed national monuments and kept hundreds and thousands of federal workers at home, costing the economy at an estimated $24 billion.
Nothing has done more damage to America's credibility in the world, our standing with other countries, than the spectacle that we've seen these past several weeks.
Meanwhile, rating agency Standard & Poor's has also come out with its number, saying that the shutdown cost $24 billion to the US economy. And it would be a matter of time before the Washington repeats the entire fiasco again. While the deal reached may have been a welcome relief, it's only a temporary fix. It funds the government until 15th of January, so Americans could face a possibility of another government shutdown early next year. Business Desk, DD News. %60 of the global total who do not have access to toilets live in India and hence are forced to defecate in the open. In actual numbers, 60% translates to 626 million. This makes India the #1 country in the world where open defecation is practiced. Indonesia, with 63 million, is a far second. Here is a special story which tells the state of affairs in the country. Now on to the rest of business stories. We'll get back to that story later on. The World Bank gave a pat on India's back on successfully evacuating over 1 million people to avert the major impact of Cyclone Philin. The World Bank said that the successful evacuation of 1 million people is not a simple task. Philin was the biggest storm to hit India's coast in 14 years. BP's chief executive Bob Dudley and Reliance Industries chairman Mukesh Ambani today met Oil Minister Veerappa Moily to voice concerns over being penalized twice for gas output from KG-D6 fields not matching targets. Dudley later met with Finance Minister P. Chidambaram. This is Dudley's third visit to India this year. Telecom Minister Kapil Sibal today said that the next round of spectrum auction is expected by end of this year with lower reserve prices compared to the ones fixed by the government in the previous rounds. He said the matter will be decided by Inter-Ministerial Panel Telecom Commission. The minister will then send the view to the empowered group of ministers, which will forward the recommendations to the cabinet for the final decision. And good news for gizmos and techno geeks. Microsoft has announced free global availability of its long-awaited Windows 8.1 operating system for desktop, laptop and tablets running on its older Windows 8 version. Windows 8.1 is also available in India. Back to our story on that open defecation, but we'll probably go for the repeat headlines. Pre-Diwali fireworks on Dalal Street. Sensex hits highest level in nearly 3 years, ends at 20,883 levels, up by 467 points. Nifty shuts 143 points, up at 6,189 levels. KM Birla meets Finance Minister and Revenue Secretary 3 days after FIR was filed against him by the CBI. Says not worried about FIR and life goes on. China's economic growth picks up speed in the third quarter. World's second biggest economy grows by 7.8% in the third quarter, fastest in a year. And the deadlock in the US economy ends after 16 days of shutdown. US government employees head back to work. S&P says $24 billion loss to the US economy due to the shutdown. Well, that's all in today's edition of Business Wrap. Thanks for watching. Namaskar.